Right now, it is time to bring in Pat Pagano and take a look at the forecast. Good morning, Pat.
And good morning, Marshall. Good morning, everybody. And of course, I'm here because Dan Henry, who is in the path of the hurricane in Florida, has no electric. So I had to work for him. And believe me, it wasn't, it, I let's put it this way. I wasn't happy about it, not only because I had to work, but of course, it follows me from a weekend of being home instead of up the lake and trying to finish my movie and getting things together because I want to close up next weekend. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. So I don't know where this forecast is going. I had to take a stand one way or another. I went for sunshine today. I don't know how much sun we'll get. There is a storm off the Mid-Atlantic coast. If it continues to move west, we're in good shape toward the coast, toward Delmarva. If it starts edging north, we're going to wind up with clouds, and we could even wind up with spotty rain. But I don't think that'll be the case today. 60 to 65, partly cloudy tonight, 40 to 45. I think it'll be cloudy and breezy tomorrow, and we could see a little bit of light rain developing tomorrow into tomorrow night. High 60. I think we should turn partly sunny Wednesday with the low moving south. 70, and then sunny Thursday in the low 70s. So I think today and tomorrow, very iffy in the forecast. We'll just keep our fingers crossed. The further north you travel, the better the weather. Further south you travel, the worse the weather.
Now, is that low the remnants of the hurricane?
Part of it.
Yeah.
Actually, Ian is pretty much dissipated, but some of his moisture has gotten entangled with a new low that has developed, but it's not tropical in any way, shape, or form.
All right. Well, it's funny. Yesterday, I called NASCAR Dave McMillan, who used to work here, retired to Florida, and checked on him. And they're A-OK. And then I sat back and I said, well, geez, I'm sitting here. We have Dan Henry and know him through you. And then I started thinking about the people I had to check on in Florida that I knew in broadcasting. Rick Buser, who I worked with many, many years ago. Louise Coogan, who I worked with in broadcasting. Bob Perry, who I worked with in broadcasting. I mean, the list kept growing and growing and growing. They were all okay. But the funny one is that Bob Perry is the one I was talking about the other day, Pat, who completely lost their house when Sandy came through. Took them many years to get the reimbursement and to rebuild. When they rebuilt on the coast, of course, they had to rebuild a special way, raising the house up, I think it was 20 feet. And they did that, and then they sold it, and they moved to Florida. And what happens? They've been in Florida a year now. What happens, Pat? A hurricane affects them.
How did they do?
They did okay. They weren't in the direct path of it at all. But still, they had to just shake their heads. Imagine that going through 2 hurricanes in like a 10-year period.
Well, I mean, again, if you're going to select a place that's going to be at the shore, then you have to expect the worst.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And talking about that, before I talk about this whole thing with timing of evacuation, I did not speak to my sister who bought a house in Venice, Florida, which was north of where the hurricane made landfall. But I spoke to my other sister who spoke to her. She claims that the real estate went there, that she had 3 windows broken and no flooding. Now, her next door neighbor, who decided to ride it out, texted her and told her he had 3 feet of water in his house. And at one point, it was so scary that he took carried his older dog through the storm surge, and him and the dog fell in the water 3 times. And he told her it was the most scariest thing he ever lived through.
And how close is he to your sister?
Right next door.
And this person that she spoke to actually had eyes on her house.
The real estate agent.
Real estate agent.
That's what the real estate agent told her.
Here's
I don't believe it.
Here's the scary thing about it, Pat. So let's say she's got 3 broken windows. How much water's in that house?
They said none.
How can it be through a hurricane? 3 broken windows.
Now, do you tell me? So I don't know if she's not letting out because she knows that her brother will say, "I told you so," and she don't want to hear it, or it may be the truth. But you know what? C'est la vie. I called. I placed a call on Friday. Said, you know, let me know what's going on because there's been a lot of damage there. Blah 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 blah. She never called me back, so I'm done. I'm done as far as that's concerned. Um, I did my job.
That's strange that she never.
Yeah, I forewarned her last week. I forewarned her for the last 3 years, and that's what I got thrown in my face. That I've been saying this for the last 3 years. Then, of course, when I was watching the news the other night, and they said, well, the evacuation warnings were not timely enough for Lee County.
Okay.
That's why there's a cause of death. Baloney.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about evacuation. Marshall, let's look at it this way. Okay. Let's say you live in Bridgeport. Okay. And I tell you that a Cat 3 hurricane is going to make landfall at New London. Are you going to sit there?
No.
You're gonna move to a shelter, even though it's New London. We all know that you cannot be that accurate with a hurricane. And yes, the odds originally were on Tampa.
Now listen,
And then,
I don't
right?
like Ron DeSantis, but I'll be honest with you. He was telling people days in advance to leave.
Right.
And then 2 days in advance they gave the actual order to evacuate, even though it's not mandatory.
Right.
You can't do more than tell people to leave. And, I always say, like, around during the winter here, like when we're talking about nor'easters and ice storms and everything, prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
The best. And as my mom used to say, may she rest in peace, better be safe than sorry. It's as simple as that. And I think the National Hurricane Center did an outstanding job. Not only did they keep everybody informed, but they kept repeating life-threatening flooding and catastrophic damage. What more do you want these people to tell you?
Yeah.
They can't tell you that, stay there and goodbye. I said during Sandy to my audience on Long Island, if you are going to stay in a zone that should be evacuated, do me a favor. Please take a magic marker and put your Social Security number on the soles of your feet.
Yeah.
Period. It's as simple as that.
Show you how crazy it is. There was a storm chaser who was on TikTok. All right, posted a video. He was scared as anything. The waves were coming in. It looked like the ocean was right where he was.
Right.
Nobody's heard from him since then. Nobody's heard from him since he posted that video, which was after the main huge water came in. Nobody's heard from him.
Yeah, and again, we only have a minute or two left here. On that topic, I really don't care about your reporting. You can report live without having a reporter standing in harm's way.
Yeah.
And there is no need for it. You could keep your cameras there. You could have somebody in a safe place narrating what's going on. You don't need somebody in the middle of there in harm's way, because what if that storm surge took one of those reporters by surprise and just swept them and back out to sea?
Yeah, no, and with today's remote cameras and everything like that, you can place as a broadcasting company remote cameras all over the place. Have different reporters that they remote cameras go back to,
right,
and have them report that way.
Right. Everything is dramatics, and I don't need to see a reporter. I'm looking at the hurricane. I'm looking at the damage and what it's doing. That's all I need to.
Yeah.
I don't need to see somebody trying to keep his feet on the ground or her feet on the ground and getting soaking wet as the hurricane approaches. Not a good idea.
All right, let's recap our forecast.
Our forecast is for sunshine today in the 60s, cloudy tomorrow, 60, and then clearing skies Wednesday, Thursday in the 70s.
I turned the furnace on Saturday, Pat.
Yeah, I figured you
All right.
would.
I'll check with you tomorrow.
Okay, bye, Mike.
Take care. Pat Pagano in the Weather Center this morning with a check out our tri-state forecast here on Robin Hood Radio.